Wholesale in real estate, 4 must-dos to success even in short sales. So as usual, we're going to address some questions here, but first of all, we're changing the format up a little bit here. Hey, this is Ola coming to you live from myEmpirePRO studios. I'm the author of Smart Real Estate Wholesaling and the creator of 11dayschallenge.com. On this episode, we're talking about wholesale in real estate, 4 must-dos to success even in short sales. So as usual, we're going to address some questions here, but first of all, we're changing the format up a little bit here to make sure that you're having the most value. So I'm always going to give you a quote, and then we'll dive into the topic, and then we'll dive into the question and answer it both together. Okay, so you're about to discover 4 tips that you must apply immediately to improve your competitive advantage with wholesale in real estate. In this lesson, we're going to break down this concept. Okay, we're going to break down distress, motivation, problem, and confidence as applicable, especially with seemingly special cases like short sales. So we got a question that actually came in, so let's dive in right quickly and then we'll take it together. Right? Hi, is it possible to wholesale a short sale, and how does that process work, please? Now here's the kicker. First of all, short sale, wholesale, a lot of people do confuse the two together. Okay, it's actually one of the most commonly asked questions because the source of leads for your business is going to be, a lot of times, it's going to be pre-foreclosures. And when we're talking about pre-foreclosures, you're going to have a situation where properties are underwater. What does that mean exactly? Meaning they owe way too much, more than the property is actually worth. So for example, if somebody owes $400,000 on a house, right, on a property, and then the property is only worth $200,000, we have a serious problem, right? Because somebody has to pay the mortgage bank that the seller owes $400,000 to, right? As you can imagine. So keep in mind, they owe $400,000. The property is only worth $200,000, right? So if they were to be able to, if they could afford the property, there's no real problems, right? They could just sit in the property until the value comes back up, until the market is better, right? They could just do that, right? But usually that also translates to their monthly payment. It usually means they've already bitten way too much than they can chew, right? It means usually that the property is located in an area that has declined significantly in value, because clearly they bought it for $400,000, or some kind of appraiser thought it was worth $400,000, right? At some point, right? But suddenly it's worth only half of that value, right? Something terrible happened, right? Just like back in 2008, I was dead in the middle of 2008. Lots of property basically was worth nothing after the crash, right? So understandably so, right? So the banks are not giving people money to purchase properties anymore. That means even if there's demand, there's no ways that, even though if they're willing to buy properties, there's no ability to buy the properties. And that's why willing and able to buy a property is a pre-qualification criteria for a buyer. Okay, if you have a buyer that's not willing, or that's willing but they're not able, then what you have in your hands is no deals, right? The deals will fall through. Okay, so with that being said, a short sale is useful. It's a useful tool when you have a property that's underwater, when you have a willing seller but they're not able to sell because they owe way too much than the property is worth. Meaning no buyer in their right mind is going to come and pay more than $200,000 for that house right now. So the seller is willing, but they're not able to sell. In that case, you still have a deal in your hands. What you have is, you have to communicate with the bank. You have to offer the bank the $200,000 and let the bank know. You have to communicate with them. You have to present to them that the property is actually worth $200,000 right now. If you can do that successfully, then the bank will take a look at the paperwork that you have, because the bank don't want to lose any more money, right? Because money is only as valuable as what it is right now. We don't know what it's worth yesterday. We don't know what it's worth in the next minute. It's actually declining in value every minute. So if they could get $150,000, if they could get $100,000 right now, it's much more valuable than $400,000 on paper. Because keep in mind, they hold them $400,000, but that's just paper at the end of the day. If no one is paying them that money, then it's useless. So the question, can you wholesale or short sale? Now, if you have short sale at the back of your mind as a solution, right? By the way, if you don't know what wholesale is, we have a whole different set of videos, 7 videos on wholesale 101. All you have to do is wholesale, just search for Wholesale Real Estate 101 Ola. Just search for that on Google, it will come right up, okay? So if you have short sale as a tool and you're able to pick up a property, right, for just $150,000. At some point it was worth $400,000. It's worth $200,000 right now. It needs some work, and you're able to pick it up for $175, $150. You still have a discounted property in your hand, and that's basically the job of a wholesaler, is to find deeply discounted properties for willing and able buyers, investors, right? So that's basically your job. So if you can get into the skill set of negotiating a good short sale, you can absolutely wholesale a short sale. Now here's the part that I'm thinking you're probably thinking about in this time and age. Okay, sometimes the bank will give you a short sale approval, which means they've already approved, like, you know what, this $400,000 note, we'll short it and we'll accept $150,000. The only thing is that we don't want the homeowners to walk away with anything, right? That can happen, right? That's very possible. But here's the thing. If that ever happens, right? Sometimes, I mean, back in the days when I got started, it was as simple as, hey, you just go flip that deal and you're good to go. But because of the crash and because the bank got in a lot of trouble, now the bank will sometimes put a restriction on that approval, right? And such restrictions may say, hey, you can't sell this property for 2 years. Whoever buys this property from the bank, you cannot sell it for 3 years. So you cannot break the chain of title. In other words, you know how you could flip immediately, double close, right? You can't do any of that kind of stuff. So are there ways around that today? Yes, there are ways around that. You just have to talk to your local investors in your state. As long as you find a deal and you negotiate a solid deal, then the investors in your local area will be wanting that deal. They will want that deal, and they will tell you how to get around the whole idea of getting you paid. Essentially, the idea is to get you paid, right? But keep in mind, if there's a title restriction or deed restriction on the approval of the short sale, usually that will say you're not allowed to sell this property for another 2 years. So now you were counting on selling it in the next 5 minutes, you're not able to sell it for 2 years, and that kills the deal, right? So there are ways around that. The keyword is there are ways around that. There are things like LLC transfers. There are things like there are things that you could just work directly with the investor and get paid on the side, as long as it's a deal. You just get paid as a contractor, completely independent contractor on the deal on the side, or as a marketer, as a lead generator. And you have to trust them, because the idea of double close is that you don't want to disclose how much money you're making to all those people. But if there's a deal, then people are happy. You're able to make people happy. Here's the last part about it: a motivated seller. Okay, you must have a motivated seller. The only one condition here is that you must have a motivated seller. A derivative condition is that you have to have multiples of motivated sellers coming into your business all the time, so you're not at the mercy of this one motivated seller that you found who may just say, I'm not interested in moving forward, right? So if you have a pipeline, mindset when it comes to short sales, when it comes to motivated sellers, then it doesn't matter. You're just there to solve a problem. As a matter of fact, you must identify the problem you're solving before you get into any further conversation. Or you have a property, a pre-foreclosure, you need to sell, you need to get rid of it. Okay, I can help you with that. That's the conversation. If the conversation turns from that to hard closing people, chances are it's gonna fall off anyway. The deal is gonna fall through, because they're gonna eventually Google enough information and find out that they have better choices. There's other wholesalers in the game chasing after the same people. So if you don't think marketing, if you're not thinking about marketing and learning marketing skills and having a pipeline here, you're gonna fail, because the future of wholesaling is actually not very good when it comes down to everybody's on the street thinking they are a wholesaler today without learning proper marketing skills. All right, so if that's something you're interested in learning, I'm giving you a free book. It's absolutely free. It's called Smart Real Estate Wholesaling. Just go to smartrealestatewholesaling.com, and if you go there right now, I'll give you this as a bonus: real estate money secrets. Hopefully you've been enlightened and educated. I will see you on the next one. Peace.